Okay. Hi. Thanks, guys, for talking to me. I appreciate it. I
Oh, thank
really
you.
enjoyed the film. It was so funny in a lot of parts. But Joe, I don't know. I know you worked on the screenplay. Did you come up with the idea for the film, or?
I did not. It was Chris and Eddie Borey came up with the idea. It was this really good script called Continue that I got my hands on years ago, and set about rewriting with the idea that I would direct because I've never done a sci-fi film. This is probably as close to sci-fi as I would get because it still has a grounded sensibility about it. But yeah, it was not. It was a screenplay that I rewrote. That I always wanted Frank to play Roy, and then he and I began a decade long odyssey to try to pull that off. But yeah, it was a really good piece of material to begin with before it became Boston.
Right. I was going to say this started quite a while ago, didn't it? From what I had read about it.
Yeah, I mean, it was.
Yeah, Joe and I were we were in high school.
Wow.
We actually no, it was a Frank and I had just done The Gray. I wanted to work with him. I had this thing. I wrote it. I don't ever really write for a specific actor, but I wrote Roy really for him. And then we just stuck to our guns and really kind of endured a lot of no's and a lot of years of forget about it. It's never going to happen. And yet here we are. So it was all worth it. All worth the struggle in the end.
Well, Joe, to Joe's testament to Joe is he could easily went and made a movie like Mark Wahlberg, but he waited until we get it made with me. So.
Yeah, and Frank, I was going to ask you, obviously, since he wrote it for you, I'm guessing most of it came with the script, into the script, but is there anywhere else that you kind of were inspired for your character that maybe you put a bit of either yourself or somebody else into it when you were working on it?
Yeah, I mean, I always imagine because there was a video game element to the film, to the screenplay was so great, and I just always imagined that this was one of those guys that I would see in a video game, and he looked a certain way, and he sounded a certain way, and his sense of humor was, he made everyone laugh, and so I just kind of took it from there. The screenplay was so good that there was very little I needed to do except use all what Joe had given me as an actor.
Okay. Did you go through any stunt training, weapons training, anything like that for this, or?
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
The other thing is we originally had 41 days to make a movie, and then in the 11th hour, we were given 27 days. And I was just doing a bunch of press with Mel Gibson, who's got an Oscar for directing, and he just said a couple of times he thinks Joe should teach a master class on how he executed this in 27 days. So, but yeah, there was a lot of bumps and bruises and training, and we had to truncate the whole thing too.
Right. Well, Joe, I mean, that may be the part, but what was kind of the hardest, the biggest challenge you had while putting the film together?
I think the biggest challenge, James, is that, it goes from being this kind of like slapstick kind of, really high octane kind of action comedy to then this story about this kind of wayward absentee father and the son he doesn't really know. And I was terrified that we wouldn't be able to hit that gear change. I wasn't really worried about logistically any of the stuff we had to shoot. I was worried about emotionally how we could make the change and it would work. And I think casting Frank's, son as his son in the movie was a huge, for me, it was like hedging a bet. It's like, I don't have time to have these guys develop this. I want father and son because it will be this indelible thing that you'll feel. And I think that probably we got away with it based in large part on that, because I can see in the movie Frank looking at Rio, not Frank looking at Joe. You know what I mean? Like I could see his boy. And so I think that stuff was to me a lot more difficult than any of the, again, like I say, the technical logistical stuff, the things we knew we were going to have to get around, which was, again, is Frank, 15 days of our schedule's cut, and we just have to figure it out.
Yeah. All right. Frank, same question, but first, what was it like working with your son? I hadn't realized that.
Again, a testament to Joe. I didn't want him. I didn't, for many reasons that I won't get into, but I said, I'm going to send him to audition. And then we did. And Sharon Bialy said, he's the best. And then I sent him to my acting coach, and she said, I can't coach him. I went, oh, thank God, he's no good. And she goes, he's great. He's great. And, it's just like Joe said, once we were on set together, there was something, I'm so in love with my child that the camera's not going to lie about that.
Right.
and it didn't. And every time he opened his mouth, you know, it was like I was rediscovering this boy because we were doing something that we had never done together, my son and I. And I think the kid steals every scene I'm in with him. I really do. And today I asked him, we shot the movie 2 years ago. I said, what if you get offers? He goes, only if it's Marvel or if Spielberg calls.
Of course. Right. Well, did you have though any acting challenges specifically you can think of though?
For myself?
Yeah.
I think Joe and I were so dialed in with each other as director and actor, as producers. We were so dialed in that we weren't there was no time to be afraid, or there was no time to overthink anything. It was just a great symbiosis that we continue to have on everything we do. And you know, I think that's why we seem to be catching lightning in a bottle a lot of times.
Right. Now I'm curious, I don't know if it makes it more difficult or less difficult to be replaying different versions of the same scene, because I would think to some extent you'd need less takes because you'd use some of maybe those other takes. Can you kind of talk to that, both of you, really? I'm just kind of curious how that.
Yeah, no, that's very true. I mean, once you kind of develop the pastiche of what the film is visually, you can use. People are counting on repetition and almost redundant images. There's a moment again where Roy is trying to infiltrate Dinah, and when you see a gear shift, you see an elevator door, you know exactly where you are. You don't need a lot of visual material, and I certainly think that helped us too in the edit. We didn't have the time to shoot all that.
Right.
You had to be very specific about what you were going to change around, but you wanted to keep it within the same framework of stuff that people had already seen, that they were accustomed to, because it keeps them.
That's exactly it. We knew that we would be reusing stuff. And so when we got it the way we wanted it, we could move on because we had that in our bag of tricks. So and you know, it's funny with time loop movies. It's sometimes and you know, the great Hal Ramis, who with Groundhog Day. Sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. I think we stuck close to that the mechanism that Groundhog Day had, and which is why I think it works so well.
Yeah, it definitely worked. Like I said, I really, really enjoyed it, and it was so funny. But also, I will say, emotional too. I know that for a while you spent one day over and over again with your son. That was really good. So
yeah, thanks. Great.
All right. Well, thanks so much, guys. It was great talking to you.
Thank you.
Okay. Bye.
Bye, Jamie.
Bye.